Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. I just want to briefly talk about what it is sometimes people complain about. It's kind of strange what people complain about and focus on. So like lately you sometimes see in like CNA and certain like Southeast Asian news organizations these complaints about like some more conservative states in like Indonesia and Malaysia applying Sharia law more strictly. Like people will complain that their daughter was told to wear hijab in a school, or that they're trying to enforce more halal food regulations in a region or something. And it's like, of all the things to complain about in your society or in a country, it's like, this is what you're complaining about. I mean, the first point I want to make is that yes, you only apply Sharia to Muslims. So when it comes to wearing hijab, that would only be applied to Muslims. So if somebody chooses to try and force a Christian or something to wear hijab, to my knowledge, in the Sharia, that's not really how things have ever really been done. And then number two, halal food as well. Like generally, they've been allowed to eat haram things. Now regarding alcohol, if you look up the WHO, they say no one should drink alcohol for any reason, that it's a carcinogen, and you can read their website on it. Just look up WHO on alcohol, you can easily find it. So no one should drink alcohol in terms of your health and so on. They say, oh, if I drink it moderately, I'm okay, or pork tastes good and blah blah. It's like, okay, in traditional Muslim societies, they could generally eat haram foods. These things are enforced on Muslims, but nonetheless, if you look at New Zealand, where they enforce halal food standards, that's almost completely non-Muslim country that actually has halal food standards because it's good for their economy. They have a much greater range of export countries and customers because like a quarter of the world is Muslim, and if you have halal food standards that they all agree with, then you have a quarter of the world worth of markets, meat markets, to sell your food to. To sell your meat to. So economically it's generally good, because even people who aren't Muslim can still eat halal. It's just opening up your markets with no detriment at all to your society. Another is what people complain about. It's just like, if you don't want to wear hijab, again, like if you have a problem with this, you can just number one, get educated about it, and number two, see if the law is just being misapplied or mistaken, and then three, just go seek recourse with the law. Be like, this is not what I want to do or something. These avenues are completely open to you, and when people, from what I've seen in the cases where people like Christians and stuff have just complained and stuff to the law, it's been changed for them, and they were given what they asked for, which again shows the tolerance and understanding of the Muslims. I don't know who originally decided to enact a school policy like that where non-Muslims have to wear a headscarf, but I don't know, I'm not there. Maybe it was a mistake, I don't know, but nonetheless, when you seek recourse with the law, you're given it. You're not oppressed. If you're oppressed, then you have no legal recourse. And there's a lot of people who don't, by the way. In the Western world, a lot of Muslims don't have legal recourse, and they really are oppressed. It could be basic things. They could be they could be blocked from, like in Texas, they've been blocked from building cemeteries. They've been blocked from building mosques all the time. People send lawyers after them just for building a mosque. And there's a lot of this has to do with the war on terror, Israel actually, and Zionism. If you go to IslamoPhobiaNetwork.com, you can read more about this. There's so much money in making war on Muslims that they spread propaganda to make you hate and fear Islam and think that you need to like fight Muslims and stuff, and people just up and declare war on the whole Muslim world and Islam and blah blah, literally. And people in America have done this. You have no idea what goes on in America. People have been lynched in that country. Like even just like 100 years ago, people were just lynched for being black in the wrong place. It's like, again, I think the things we complain about, it's like you call this oppression in this region. It's just like the law is completely supportive of you. I can't think of any. Is there any case where the law has actually oppressed you, like the actual law where they didn't give you what you asked for? Is there a single case? Maybe not. And it's a joke compared to what's going on in much of the rest of the world. And people, I mean, my landlord, when I was renting an apartment in Egypt, his son was shot in an attempted hate crime murder in Texas. His son was living in America, and someone tried to murder his son just for being Muslim. I mean, this happens all the time. My friend, his high school friend, was murdered in a hate crime, and I think his sister, his family, like 3-4 people got murdered in a hate crime. These happen all the time in America. You don't know what oppression is here. People are getting literally murdered and lynched, even today in that country. It's like the things we complain about. Again, it's just like you have nothing to complain about. Even these things that you choose to complain about, wearing a headscarf. Okay, that's actually, I mean, again, I'm not saying you have to when you're non-Muslim, but just think about what it is you're complaining about. Is this actually good for you? It's even in Christianity and Judaism, in halakha, like if you're a Christian, if you follow the law, you should cover your hair anyways. Look at nuns, they cover their hair. Look at women in videos, even American movies from 100 years ago, they're covering their hair. Many did. Not all of them, but many did. If you look at videos from Poland from like the 1940s and 50s and stuff, like you see a lot of women covering their head, covering their hair. It's in halakha, it's in Judaism and Christianity if you follow the religious law. So actually that does apply to you as a Christian if you follow the law, and if you're a Jew as well. So it's good for you. And if you don't want to, okay, you can just say I don't want to, blah blah blah. Go ahead, whatever. It shouldn't be forced on you. But to complain about this and claim you're like oppressed or something, it's just like, this is a joke. Is anybody threatening your life? Has somebody killed your family? Has somebody I mean, it's a joke. You have so much economic opportunity here. You have so much freedom. There's so much good here. I mean, just take a breath of fresh air and appreciate what's here for you. I mean, look at all we're recovering from postcolonialism, but I mean, appreciate the Muslims. These people fought and died for your freedom, so you can be free of the Dutch, you can be free of the British, you can be free of these oppressive people. I mean, do you have any idea what they did? Do you know what the British did here? Do you know what the Dutch did to this region in Southeast Asia? Do you know what they did? Taking people, enslaving them. In India, in China, I mean, they forced the country of China to become opium addicts. It's really terrible what they did. They harmed the economies here. Like the entire concept of colonialism was based on the idea that they want to be trading on as unequal terms as possible. So you lose as much as you can, and they gain and they steal as much as they can. That's literally the concept of colonialism, is taking everything from you and making sure you're a loser. And your whole country, I mean, in India there were famines they caused. In Vietnam they caused famines. I mean, millions of people have died from these colonial people. So just be careful with the westernization, the media. They flip reality upside down on you and call evil good and good evil. So guys, just be careful. Be appreciative of what you have in this country. It's a really good land, and what they have in the West, it's not as good as you think it really is. You're just kind of looking at a facade. You're looking at propaganda. They're just a bunch of lies, really. I mean, there's some good things there, yes, but it's not as good as people think. And even the people who live there, once they really learn the history and kind of what's going on, it's like, this is not that good. There's a lot of evil here. I mean, look at the obesity rates in America. It's terrible for your health. They have a ton of problems, Another is so like the headscarf thing. Again, it's like, you're going to complain about that? I mean, like, when has a headscarf led to anything bad in anyone's life? Come on. Another is like halal food. Again, it's like, well, that's actually good for you anyways. It's good for your spirituality to leave alcohol and pork, And alcohol, I mean, come on, look at, again, I grew up in America. Do you have any idea how much violence, car accidents, drunk driving? It kills people. Thousands of people a year die from alcohol. There's violence, fist fighting, a lot of domestic violence, a lot of sexual abuse and rape occurs from alcohol. Like, why would you complain about getting rid of alcohol? You should complain about alcohol. I mean, Americans are complaining about alcohol. They tried it, prohibition, It's clearly a vice. It's not good for you or your society. So like the thing, again, it's just like the things you complain about. It's just like, what are you just looking for something to complain about? You should be grateful for what's going on here. For these changes are good for society, Muslim and non-Muslim. Getting rid of alcohol is good for everybody. You should be happy about that. Everyone says this. WHO says this. The secular people say this. The Muslims say this. Every religion says this. Literally everyone says it's good to get rid of alcohol. So what are you complaining about? Be happy, you know. Another one is getting rid of the cigarettes. I mean, if you knew what the tobacco industry did in America to bring tobacco over here and to enforce Thailand to, you know, accept it, like what, you want emphysema or something, you're complaining you don't have enough emphysema in your society, you know, like, come on, it's a good thing. That should be the next thing you should ask to get rid of. Get rid of the alcohol, get rid of the cigarettes. It's good for everyone, you know. Another is like, you know, if you want to complain about things, complain about bars and clubs, complain about vice, complain about nightlife and alcohol and the evil aspects of Western culture. Because there's good things in Western culture, but a lot of people, especially teenagers, are 100% oblivious to it. You know, have you heard of Gandhi? Okay, well, have you heard of Martin Luther King? You know, have you studied his life? Have you watched his speeches? What about Malcolm X? You know, do you know Muhammad Ali? You know, do you know these people? Do you know do you know Abraham Lincoln? Do you know, my favorite woman is Harriet Tubman. Do you know Harriet Tubman? Her life was amazing. Do you know Henry David Thoreau? You know, I mean, Henry David Thoreau is the one who influenced Gandhi. He's the one who influenced, you know, Abdul Ghaffar Khan, who's like the Muslim partner to Gandhi. Like he basically invented nonviolent protest. You know, do people know about them? You know, but you know about the worst elements of American society that embarrass us. Like, Americans are embarrassed about the things foreign people think about when they think of America. You know, like, they're vacuous singers. Like, come on, guys. It's not America. That's the worst example of America. We all hate those people. You know, we don't like these people. They're like completely vacuous, you know, just vapid people who are spreading evil music. And you're going to call that music? I mean, this is an insult to the word music. Come on. You know, it's like you're asking for evil and complaining about good. You know, it's like you should be asking for good and complaining about evil. Another example is like the amount of fist fights, car accidents, health problems, all these issues that come with nightlife. Another is prostitution. Like, a lot of this region didn't really have prostitution before America and certain colonial powers came to the region. Like, Thailand didn't really have prostitution before the Vietnam War. When America came and built bases there, that's when mainly it was American soldiers who brought prostitution to Thailand, and now it's known as like a place for abusing women. You know, it's like, you can complain about something like, you can complain about a hijab, but you're not going to complain about when America brought prostitution to your countries. You know, like, you should be disgusted by the West and wholeheartedly embracing these Muslim changes. I mean, they're good. You know, you should be spreading them and promoting them, if anything, because they're good for your society. They're getting rid of vice. You know, and again, if you don't want to wear a hijab, you say, I don't want to wear it, and go whatever. You know, it's not a big deal. But like, you should. Overall, though, as a whole, these are good changes. They're good for humanity. They're good for people. They're not bringing prostitutes here like America did. They're getting rid of that stuff. You should be happy about it, you know. So ask for the good and complain about evil. Don't complain about good and ask for evil. You know, you're flipping. Your reality is upside down, you know. And if your heart is flipped like that, well, you need to get yourself right with God first. You can't call yourself a Christian and complain about, you know, people getting rid of alcohol. You know, this is not something to complain about. You know, it's something wrong with you. You know, and if you're so addicted to these things, I'd recommend, honestly, doing what you can to just immigrate to the West if you're so infatuated with it. Because it's better for you. You'll get a higher paying job. You know, the things you generally are in love with are going to be there. And let this region decolonize. You know, let these people decolonize. Don't stand in the way. You know, let them decolonize. Let them purify their society of these ills and vices. Let them do their work, because it's good work overall. Okay, you're not complaining about, you know, and I just ask for like a small change, like, hey, I don't want to. Okay, no one cares. You know, no one cares. But as a whole, though, generally you should be in support of these changes. They're good for you and your society. They're good for your daughters, for your women. You know, reducing the abuse of women. You know, if you want to talk about abuse of women, I mean, let's talk about out of wedlock childbirths, out of wedlock, to talk about the importance of abstinence, not having sex before marriage. Let's talk about the importance of marriage. Let's talk about, these things are important for men and women. Another is reducing domestic violence, reducing, just teaching general piety in marriage, being good to your wives. Like the Prophet Muhammad said, "Khayrukum khayru li ahlihi," the best of you are best to your families. And he said that he never hit a woman, he never hit a child, he never hit a servant, he never hit anybody. He's not a violent person. There's no violence in his household, like the only times he was violent when people tried to kill him. Even then he generally just withstood it. The only time was in battle when when someone would literally try to strike him with a sword or something, he would strike back. That's the only time he ever was violent in his entire life. He was never a violent person. So we need to be spreading this basic knowledge and understand that Islam has a lot of good if you actually study it correctly. If you learn from America about Islam, well, you're not going to learn about Islam. They're spending millions of dollars to just to teach people to hate Islam, because guess what? They have like 5 or 6 or 7 companies that make billions of American tax dollars a year making missiles to go shoot at Afghanistan, Yemen, and whoever. It's just all a big military business. It has nothing to do with actual Islam. And if you learn to respect people and respect Muslims and respect the work they do in decolonizing the world and freeing themselves from the shackles of Western oppression and hegemony, you'll realize who's really the bad guy here. Who's doing what. Who are the good guys, who are the bad guys. It's not, the Muslims are generally not the bad guys. Especially in Southeast Asia. I mean, this place is very well put together, and they have their heads screwed on pretty well. What America wants to do to this country, just read a book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. He was a CIA agent. He talks about this region, Indonesia included, and many other regions, and what America does to screw them over. He puts your countries in debt, the debt they can never pay off, and then they tell them what to do, and blah, blah, blah. Just go and study. Just go learn what these countries have been doing. They're not what you think it is. So try to get things right. Get educated, number one. Appreciate what's going on. These are good changes overall. If you see something you think is wrong, well then, number one, get educated. Then study the issue. Find experts. Consult all sides. See all opinions. I guarantee the Muslims are going to respect you, if you go to them and ask them questions. And if you need some legal recourse, then go and seek it, and they'll give it to you. They always have been. So these are all good things. You have a lot of good going here. Don't complain about the good. Complain about evil, and seek the good. That's all I have. Subhanallah.